There are people who wear smiles that don't reach their eyes, who speak with charm, but chill your bones. They appear human on the surface, but beneath that surface, something else moves. Cold, calculating, predatory. The Stoics knew this type well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. But first, you must know who the enemy is, because not every enemy arrives with fangs bared. Some walk into your life quietly, even lovingly, only to erode your peace from the inside out. They wear the skin of friend, partner, mentor, but their presence leaves you drained, confused, even doubting your own sanity. These aren't just toxic people. These are what some might call devils in human form." Now, to be clear, we're not speaking of demons with horns or Hollywood horror tropes. We're talking about patterns of behavior, archetypes that appear across history, literature, and psychology. People so devoid of empathy and filled with control, manipulation, or destruction that they feel inhuman. So how do you spot them before the damage is done? Before your spirit is entangled, your energy depleted, and your reality twisted? That's what this is about. These are 5 terrifyingly real signs. You're dealing with someone who doesn't just hurt you, they consume you. Sign 1. They wear a mask of charm. The first sign is almost always magnetic charm. They walk into a room and command attention, not by force, but by finesse. Their words are smooth, their timing impeccable. They know exactly what to say, when to say it, and how to make you feel seen, chosen, special. But here's the warning. Charm is not character. True character is revealed slowly over time. In adversity, inconsistency. Charm, however, is a tool, a mask, and in the hands of the wrong person, it's a weapon. The so-called devil in human form uses charm to disarm you, to bypass your defenses, to create false intimacy quickly. They want you emotionally invested before you've even had a chance to evaluate their integrity. This isn't intuition, it's manipulation wrapped in flattery. You feel like you've known them forever. That's by design. They mirror your language, your interests, your insecurities. They study you not to love you, but to use you. And when you question this intensity, they call you paranoid. Why would you push away something so good? Because deep down, you know something doesn't feel right. But charm keeps you doubting yourself. That's the danger. The Stoics warned us to look beyond appearances. Epictetus said, "Appearances to the mind are of 4 kinds. Things are either what they appear to be, or they neither are, nor appear to be, or they are, but do not appear to be, or they are not, and yet appear to be." These devils often fall into the last category. They are not what they appear to be, but they're very good at pretending. The takeaway: don't confuse charisma for kindness. Don't confuse flattery for truth. If someone moves too fast, makes too many promises, or seems too perfect, pause. Real love grows slowly. Real people have flaws. Masks always crack with time. Sign 2. They manipulate your reality, gaslighting. Once the charm has drawn you in, the next weapon is subtler gaslighting. This is psychological warfare, dressed in the clothes of care. It's when they twist your perception of events, your emotions, your memory. They don't just lie. They restructure your reality. You begin to second-guess things you know you saw. You feel confused, off balance, always trying to fix something, but never knowing what. They say things like, "You're overreacting. That never happened. You're imagining things. You're just being sensitive." At first, it feels like miscommunication. Then it feels like maybe it's your fault. Before long, you're walking on eggshells, apologizing for things you didn't do, or questioning your own sanity. This is not an accident. This is a strategy. The Stoics warned us about the danger of losing clarity. Clarity is power. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to look at things as they are, not as they're presented. He called it stripping things down to the bone. Gaslighters do the opposite. They wrap simple things in confusion. They make clarity feel impossible. They don't want you to see. They want you to doubt. Why? Because someone who doubts themselves is easy to control. They stop setting boundaries. They stop asking questions. They cling to the manipulator as their only source of truth. That's how the devil tightens their grip, not through fear, but through dependence. You start to need them to feel okay. You begin to believe they're the only ones who understand you, when in reality, they're the ones who shattered your understanding to begin with. And gaslighting isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silent. They withdraw affection when you bring up a concern. They shift blame so subtly that you end up apologizing for their mistakes. They rewrite history so convincingly that you believe it. But here's the antidote. Reconnect with your own reality. Write things down. Talk to people you trust. Get distance and perspective. Truth doesn't require emotional gymnastics. Truth lands. If someone constantly makes you feel confused, unstable, or guilty for things that don't add up, it's not love. It's manipulation. Seneca once said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Well, this is adversity, and your proof comes not from fighting back, but from walking away with your clarity intact. Because the devil thrives in confusion. Don't feed it. Remember what you saw. Remember what you felt. Trust your own mind more than their words. Sign 3. They delight in control, not connection. The devil in human form doesn't seek relationships. They seek control systems. Every interaction, every gesture of kindness, every compliment is transactional. It serves a purpose, to reinforce their dominance, to keep you tethered, submissive, dependent. At first, it might feel like they're just strong-willed or protective. They may frame it as care. I just want what's best for you. But watch closely. What they really want is compliance, not partnership, not mutual respect. Control. Control doesn't always look aggressive. It can be subtle, like discouraging your independence, undermining your confidence, or isolating you from friends and family. They don't say, don't talk to them. They say, they don't really get you. They don't say, you can't do that. They say, are you sure you can handle it? It's the slow erosion of your autonomy under the disguise of love. The Stoics taught the importance of freedom from inner slavery. But here's the thing. If someone is always undermining your sense of self, they're trying to enslave you emotionally. They want your identity to orbit around their approval, their moods, their control. And it's not just emotional control. It can be financial, intellectual, even spiritual. They may ridicule your beliefs, your goals, your instincts until you slowly stop trusting yourself. That's when they win. True connection empowers. It uplifts, respects, and honors your agency. But the devil in human form doesn't want a partner. They want a puppet. The moment you start making choices independent of their influence, you'll see the mask crack. They'll grow agitated, unpredictable, even cruel. Why? Because control is their lifeblood. Your freedom threatens their illusion of dominance. And when you begin to reclaim your power, they'll often switch tactics, love bombing, guilt tripping, or playing the victim. It's all an attempt to pull you back in. Don't fall for it. Epictetus wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." If someone is always trying to be the master of you, it's time to question what kind of relationship you're really in. Ask yourself, do I feel like I can breathe around this person? Do I feel seen or surveyed? Do I feel encouraged or controlled? If the answer leans toward fear, confusion, or suffocation, you're not in love. You're in a power game disguised as affection. And here's the truth. You don't need permission to leave what's hurting you. You don't owe loyalty to someone who's quietly destroying your peace. Get distance, get clear, and above all, get free. Sign 4. They have no conscience, only strategy. Perhaps the most chilling sign you're dealing with a devil in human form is this. They do not feel remorse. They may simulate it, they may even say the right words, but it's all an act. Their apologies are empty. Their tears are tactics. They don't regret hurting you. They regret losing leverage. This is a hard pill to swallow, especially if you're someone who feels deeply. You assume that everyone has a conscience, that deep down, people know when they've crossed a line, but for the devil in disguise, empathy is foreign. Morality is negotiable. The only thing they understand is gain. They will lie without hesitation, betray without flinching, harm without guilt. And then when caught, they will feign innocence with disturbing ease. Watch their eyes. Watch the calm, the flatness, the way they explain pain as if it were data. Their voice doesn't crack. Their spirit doesn't flinch. Why? Because this is not remorse, it's management. Seneca once said, "A guilty person sometimes has the luck of escaping detection, but never of being sure of it." But with these people, there is no guilt, only calculation. You may catch them in a lie, and they'll twist it back on you. You may expose their cruelty, and they'll say, "You're the one who's toxic." You may distance yourself, and suddenly they become the victim. This is not human error. This is strategic evil. And here's the dangerous part. Their lack of conscience can tempt you to compromise your own. You'll start rationalizing, minimizing, adapting. You'll tell yourself, maybe I'm too sensitive, or everyone has flaws, or they're just wounded. But the truth is, being wounded does not justify wounding others deliberately. Everyone has pain. Not everyone chooses to weaponize it. The Stoics taught us to stay true to our inner compass. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. The devil in human form does the opposite. They thrive in half-truths and moral gray zones, and they're counting on you to be the one who bends. That's why these individuals are often drawn to good people, compassionate, forgiving, emotionally intelligent souls who see the best in others. You are the perfect mirror for their game, and they will reflect back what you want to see until it's too late. So here's the rule. If someone consistently shows you that they do not care about the harm they cause, believe them. Don't wait for a rock to bleed. Don't keep going back to a fire expecting not to get burned. Your heart is not a rehabilitation center for people who refuse to confront their darkness. It's a sacred space, guarded accordingly. Sign 5. They leave a trail of destruction, but somehow they're always the victim. This final sign is perhaps the most revealing. Look closely at the devil in disguise, and you'll notice a pattern: broken relationships, chaos, betrayal, hurt, but somehow, in every story, they are the one who was wronged. They never take ownership, never apologize with depth, and even when they do, it's strategic, never transformative. Ask them about their past, and it's always the same. My ex was crazy. My boss was toxic. My family never understood me. Everyone else is the problem, never them. Now, one bad relationship. Sure, we've all had them. But if someone consistently paints themselves as the innocent party in every disaster they've ever been part of, be warned. You're dealing with someone who refuses to look inward. These people leave a path of emotional wreckage behind them. But they walk away clean, often with a new target already in sight. And if you begin to ask questions, if you start connecting the dots or holding up a mirror, they'll turn on you swiftly, viciously, and without remorse. This is not just emotional immaturity. This is moral manipulation. They weaponize your empathy. They play on your compassion. They turn your kindness into a leash, then blame you for how tight it feels. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." But these individuals argue endlessly. They perform goodness, but never live it. They curate an image of being wronged, misunderstood, and noble, so they can continue hurting others without ever facing themselves. And if you leave them, they'll rewrite the story immediately. You'll become the villain in their narrative. They'll tell others you were unstable, disloyal, manipulative. Why? Because to preserve their self-image, someone must be the enemy, and it sure won't be them. This is why it's so crucial to observe patterns, not just words. Anyone can say the right thing, but actions, patterns, consequences, those don't lie. So ask yourself, are they surrounded by broken bridges and somehow always blaming the wind? Do their stories lack accountability? Do they provoke chaos and then act shocked when there's fallout? If so, you're not just dealing with a difficult person. You're dealing with someone who is pathologically committed to being the victim, no matter how much damage they cause. And you don't need to stick around to prove otherwise. The most stoic thing you can do in that moment, walk away with your integrity intact and your peace reclaimed. So, now that you've seen the signs, what do you do with this knowledge? The first step is the hardest. Believe what you see, not what they say, not what they promise, not what you hope they'll become, but what they consistently do. The devil in human form thrives on your doubt. They manipulate your empathy. They rely on your hesitation. And every time you second-guess your intuition, they gain ground. The Stoics teach us that peace begins within, that the only true power is self-mastery. And the moment you reclaim your clarity, the moment you stop making excuses for patterns that hurt you, begin to reclaim your life. Don't try to change them. Don't try to expose them. Don't try to beat them at their own game. You will only exhaust yourself. Their game is destruction. Yours is peace. Seneca once said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you are capable of improving." The process is mutual. But if you find yourself in a dynamic where no one is improving, where only one person is gaining at the cost of your soul, you are not in a relationship. You are in a power imbalance, and that must be corrected, often with distance. So how do you protect yourself? Establish boundaries without apology. Boundaries are not cruel. They are clarity. The devil in disguise will test them, push them, violate them. But your job is not to make them comfortable. It's to make yourself safe. Guard your energy like a treasure. These individuals feed on your focus, your confusion, your emotional reactions. Don't give it to them. Don't explain yourself 10 times. Don't chase understanding where there is only evasion. Your peace is not up for negotiation. Reaffirm your inner compass daily. Write what you saw. Journal your experience. Reconnect with reality. Talk to people who see you clearly. Their manipulation only works when you doubt your mind more than their lies. Exit the cycle quietly and completely. You don't need to burn the bridge. Just stop crossing it. Walk away. Block the number. Release the narrative. You owe no dramatic exit. Just a decision and your feet moving in the other direction. You are not weak for being targeted. You are strong for surviving. And you are wise for learning. The Stoic path is not about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear. It's about removing illusions about yourself and others so you can live with honor, intention, and peace. And sometimes that means recognizing the devil behind the smile and walking away before your soul pays the price. Once you've escaped the grip of someone like this, the healing truly begins. But don't be surprised if it feels confusing. You might feel grief not just for the person, but for the illusion you once believed. You may miss the highs, the moments of intense connection, the thrill of being seen. That's normal. What you're experiencing is emotional detox. You weren't just bonded to a person, you were trauma bonded to a pattern, to manipulation, to a cycle of idealization and devaluation that trained your nervous system to equate chaos with love. That's why healing from this kind of dynamic doesn't just require understanding. It requires reprogramming. You have to retrain your system to feel safe in peace, to feel secure and silent, to trust stillness instead of craving intensity. The Stoics were masters of this kind of discipline. They believed that true freedom was the ability to choose your response, even when your instincts are screaming otherwise. Marcus Aurelius would sit in silence each morning, reflecting on the people he might encounter that day, the liars, the manipulators, the selfish, and remind himself, none of these can harm me unless I allow them to corrupt my character. That's your work now, not to erase the past, not to punish the other, but to protect your character, to become so grounded in your values that no charm can seduce you, no gaslighting can disorient you, and no cruelty can convince you that you deserve less. You begin rebuilding your boundaries, not as walls, but as doors with locks. You decide who gets access, who earns trust, who stays in your energy, and this time, you don't override your intuition for the sake of connection. You also rebuild your relationship with yourself. You learn to trust your perceptions again, to believe your memories, to validate your own emotions without needing external confirmation. And most importantly, you learn to forgive yourself not for staying, but for not knowing. You did what most people do. You led with heart. You assumed the best. You believed in change. That's not weakness, that's humanity. But now you know, and knowing changes everything. So if you've walked away from someone who fit these signs, if you've escaped the grip of manipulation, confusion, and emotional erosion, understand this. You did the bravest thing a person can do. You saved yourself, and now you're free, not just from them, but from the story they tried to write for you. You're no longer the confused one, the overthinker, the too sensitive person they painted you to be. You are someone who saw the truth and acted on it. From this new ground, you get to decide how you move forward, how you choose relationships, how you protect your energy. You become someone who no longer ignores red flags in the name of love, who no longer lets charm override instinct, who no longer sacrifices peace for company. You become what the Stoics called anchored, not hard, not cold, but clear. Clear about what you will tolerate, clear about how you want to be treated, clear about the kind of life you're creating. There's a quiet power that comes from surviving psychological manipulation. It's not loud. It doesn't boast. It doesn't seek revenge. It simply knows who it is, knows what it saw, knows what it will never accept again. And if anyone questions your story, if someone says, "Are you sure it was that bad?" you won't need to argue, because you're not trying to convince anyone anymore. You're not asking for permission to own your truth. You live it. That's the Stoic way. Not to react, but to rise. To turn pain into perspective. To turn confusion into clarity. To use every wound not as proof of weakness, but as evidence of your awakening. And here's the most beautiful part. Once you've done this work, you don't just protect yourself. You become someone who helps others protect themselves too. Your story becomes a light in the dark, a map for someone still trying to make sense of their own experience. Because devils in human form don't just harm individuals. They spread confusion, shame, silence. And every time someone speaks the truth of what they endured, that fog lifts a little more. So don't underestimate the power of your clarity. It's not just healing. It's activism. It's protection. It's a refusal to let darkness disguise itself as love. And if you ever find yourself slipping, doubting, missing the high, questioning your strength, remember this. You already did the hardest part. You walked away from something that tried to own you. And now you own yourself. You've now seen the signs, walked through the patterns, and uncovered the truth that many choose to ignore. You've recognized the mask of charm, the tactics of confusion, the hunger for control, the lack of conscience, and the twisted victim narrative. These are not just traits of a toxic person. They are hallmarks of someone who is dangerous to your spirit. But you are no longer defenseless. You are no longer blind. You have the tools of discernment, the strength of boundaries, the clarity of your own perception. And most of all, you have yourself, the version of you who knows better, who moves slower, who listens to their gut, who doesn't need to justify their exit or explain their peace. That version of you is sacred. Protect it. Because the truth is, devils in human form don't fear confrontation. They fear clarity. They fear the moment you wake up, the moment you see them as they are, the moment you stop playing the role they wrote for you. That moment, that's now. So if this message spoke to you, if it gave voice to something you felt but couldn't explain, share it, speak it, live it. And if you're ready to surround yourself with truth, healing, and personal power, subscribe to our channel. Share this with someone who needs it, and leave a comment with the moment that hit you the hardest. You never know who you'll help by simply being honest. You are not alone. You are not weak. You are awakening.